Religion and worship during Hatshepsut's reign played an important role in strengthening her government's power and legitimacy. By using religion as a tool to gain the people's support and increase her authority, she was able to create a stable and powerful government. In the previous section, we explored religion and worship during Hatshepsut's reign. Now it's time to delve into Hatshepsut's legacy and impact on Egyptian and world history. Hatshepsut was one of the pharaohs who had a significant impact on Egypt's history and culture. With her great achievements in various fields, including architecture, economy, international relations, and religion, she became one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. Hatshepsut's architectural legacy is still visible in Egypt today. Her temples and massive structures are not only recognized as architectural masterpieces, but also as symbols of her power and artistic taste. The Temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari is one of the most important of these works and remains a major attraction for tourists. Hatshepsut's economic impacts were also noteworthy. By expanding trade and economic relations, she increased the country's financial resources and strengthened Egypt's economy. These actions helped improve the people's welfare and security, making Egypt one of the greatest economic powers of its time. Hatshepsut also paid special attention to the role and importance of women in society. By strengthening the role of women and demonstrating her capabilities as a female pharaoh, she served as a model for future women and showed that women could also play important roles in society. Hatshepsut's legacy was felt not only during her time, but also in later Egyptian and world history. With her great achievements and significant role in history, she became one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, and her name will always be remembered in history as a symbol of power and artistic taste. In the previous section, we explored the cultural and social impacts of Hatshepsut's reign. Now it's time to delve into Hatshepsut's role and influence in strengthening Egypt's military power. Understanding the importance of military power in maintaining the country's security and stability, Hatshepsut organized and strengthened Egypt's military forces. She equipped Egypt's military with modern equipment and weapons, which increased the country's defensive and offensive capabilities. Hatshepsut also developed new military tactics. Drawing on her military experiences and consulting with military commanders, she devised new strategies for dealing with enemies and maintaining the country's security. These strategies increased Egypt's military successes in wars and battles. Another important step taken by Hatshepsut was strengthening military relations with neighboring countries. She formed alliances and military agreements with neighboring countries, contributing to regional security and stability. These military relations increased Egypt's power and influence in the region. By strengthening Egypt's military power, Hatshepsut helped maintain the country's security and stability and increased Egypt's power and influence in the region. Her military actions made Egypt one of the greatest military powers of its time, enjoying long-lasting security and stability. In the previous section, we explored Hatshepsut's role and influence in strengthening Egypt's military power. Now it's time to delve into religion and worship during Hatshepsut's reign. Religion played a crucial role in the lives of ancient Egyptians, and Hatshepsut also worked to strengthen and develop religion. She built new temples and restored old ones to provide suitable places for the people's worship. Hatshepsut's temples served not only as religious centers, but also as cultural and social hubs. Hatshepsut presented herself as a pharaoh with a direct connection to the gods. Through religious ceremonies and rituals, she demonstrated her connection with the gods, which increased her legitimacy and authority as pharaoh. The people also accepted her as a representative of the gods on earth and respected her. In addition to building temples, Hatshepsut promoted religious practices and rituals. She held large religious ceremonies that brought people together and increased their loyalty and solidarity with the government. These ceremonies not only strengthened the people's faith, but also served as opportunities for cultural and social exchange. Hatshepsut also nurtured and trained priests. She educated and trained new priests and introduced them as the religious and spiritual representatives of society. This action strengthened the religious system and increased the role of priests in the community. These expeditions not only increased Egypt's economic revenues, but also strengthened Egypt's diplomatic relations with Punt. Hatshepsut met with Punt's leaders and signed trade and diplomatic agreements with them, which led to the development of friendly relations and further cooperation. Hatshepsut's trade expeditions to Punt demonstrated her intelligence and ability in managing foreign relations and developing the country's economy. By leveraging these trade relations, she provided valuable resources for Egypt and increased the nation's power and wealth. In the previous section, we explored Hatshepsut's trade expeditions to Punt and their impact. Now let's delve into the cultural and social impacts of Hatshepsut's reign. During Hatshepsut's reign, culture and art flourished in Egypt. She supported artists and craftsmen, contributing to the development of art and culture. The temples, statues, and wall paintings created during this period reflect the unparalleled artistic taste of this era. Hatshepsut also strengthened the educational and scientific systems. She established new schools and educational centers that educated children and young people. This educational system increased the people's knowledge and skills, contributing to the country's scientific development. During Hatshepsut's reign, the people of Egypt enjoyed a better standard of living. She increased the country's financial resources through economic and trade projects, which helped improve people's lives. The construction and development of public infrastructure and facilities also increased the people's welfare and comfort. The cultural and social impacts of Hatshepsut's reign were felt not only during her time, but also in the future. By strengthening art, science, and culture, she left a valuable legacy for Egypt that continues to be admired and appreciated. In the previous section, we explored the development of trade and economy during Hatshepsut's reign. Now it's time to delve into Hatshepsut's large-scale building projects and the outstanding architecture of her time. One of Hatshepsut's greatest achievements in architecture was the Temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari. This temple, with its unique design and painted walls, is considered one of the masterpieces of ancient Egyptian architecture. The Temple of Hatshepsut is constructed as a terrace structure with columns and carved walls, reflecting the unparalleled artistic taste of this pharaoh. Hatshepsut also undertook the restoration and development of other temples and structures across Egypt. She built new temples and restored old ones, beautifying them in the process. These building projects not only strengthened the faith and spirituality of the people, but also attracted tourists and increased the country's revenues. Another important building project of Hatshepsut was the restoration of the Temple of Karnak. She expanded and developed this temple, adding new elements to it. The Temple of Karnak became one of the largest and most important temples of ancient Egypt and played a significant role in attracting pilgrims and tourists. In addition to religious temples and structures, Hatshepsut also built ports and trade facilities. She constructed new ports that helped expand foreign trade and increase the exchange of goods and services. These ports played a crucial role in boosting Egypt's economy and strengthening trade relations with neighboring lands. Hatshepsut's building projects not only improved the country's infrastructure, but also created jobs and increased the people's welfare. She executed these large-scale projects using local financial resources and workforce, which strengthened the economy and increased the people's satisfaction. In the previous section, we explored Hatshepsut's large-scale building projects and the outstanding architecture of her time. Now it's time to delve into Hatshepsut's trade expeditions to Punt and their impact. Hatshepsut decided to expand Egypt's trade relations with other regions and provide new resources for the country. One of the most important of these regions was Punt. Punt was a wealthy region in northeastern Africa that had valuable resources such as gold, incense, ivory, and aromatic woods. Hatshepsut organized large trade expeditions to Punt. She sent large trade caravans to this region, which included ships, camel caravans, and a large workforce. These expeditions brought valuable resources to Egypt and strengthened the country's economy. These expeditions not only increased Egypt's economic revenues, but also strengthened Egypt's diplomatic relations with Punt. Hatshepsut met with Punt's leaders and signed trade and diplomatic agreements with. In the previous section, we delved into Hatshepsut's reign and her great achievements. Now let's turn our attention to the role and importance of women during Hatshepsut's reign. Despite presenting herself as a male pharaoh, Hatshepsut never forgot the importance of women in society. She made efforts to strengthen the position of women and give them greater respect. During Hatshepsut's reign, women were active in many fields. They could own land, trade, and even hold certain governmental positions. Hatshepsut, by reinforcing these roles, demonstrated that women could also play significant roles in managing and advancing society. Hatshepsut herself was a powerful example of female strength and capability. She showed that women could be strong and successful leaders and, through their intelligence and abilities, guide the country toward progress and development. This was a model for future women to know that they could play important roles in society. In the previous section, we explored the role and importance of women during Hatshepsut's reign. Now it's time to delve into the development of trade and economy during Hatshepsut's reign. One of Hatshepsut's most important achievements was expanding trade relations with Egypt's neighbors. She extended trade with Punt, a region in northeastern Africa, and sent large trade caravans to this area. This trade brought Egypt rich resources, such as gold, incense, ivory, and other products, strengthening the country's economy. Hatshepsut also improved Egypt's internal trade infrastructure. She created new routes to connect different regions of the country, which increased the exchange of goods and services within the country. This development of infrastructure helped strengthen the internal economy and made Egypt one of the greatest economic powers of its time. In addition to expanding foreign trade relations and internal infrastructure, Hatshepsut also improved the country's financial system. She implemented reforms in the tax and budget systems, which improved the management of financial resources and increased the government's revenues. Start of the video with images of temples and massive structures of ancient Egypt. Hello everyone. Today, we are going to tell the story of one of the greatest and most unique pharaohs of ancient Egypt, Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut was born around 1507 BC during the New Kingdom period of Egypt. She was the daughter of Thutmose I and the wife of Thutmose II, and when her stepson, Thutmose III, was still a child, she took the throne as regent. From childhood, Hatshepsut was known for her intelligence and outstanding talent. Under the supervision and teachings of her father, Thutmose I, she became familiar with the concepts of governance, the history of Egypt, and military affairs. Her father taught her how to be a strong and successful leader, and these teachings later played an important role in her managerial and leadership abilities. Hatshepsut showed an interest in governmental affairs from an early age. She regularly attended her father's governmental meetings and consultations and closely observed how important decisions were made and how the country was managed. This early awareness and experience helped her become an experienced and capable leader. In addition to political and military teachings, Hatshepsut was also interested in art and architecture. She played an active role in the restoration and creation of temples and massive structures, and this love for architecture later manifested in her major projects during her reign. In the previous section, we got to know Hatshepsut's childhood and teachings. Now it's time to delve into her reign and her great achievements. When her stepson, Thutmose III, was still a child, Hatshepsut took the throne as regent. However, She quickly showed that she was not just a regent and had greater leadership power. Hatshepsut officially presented herself as pharaoh and took on the role of ruler. One of Hatshepsut's most important achievements was her large-scale building projects. She constructed temples, large buildings, and massive statues that are still standing today. The most famous of these projects is the Temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari, considered one of the masterpieces of ancient Egyptian architecture. This temple, with its unique design and painted walls, reflects the unparalleled artistic taste of this pharaoh. Hatshepsut also expanded Egypt's trade relations with neighboring lands. She extended trade with Punt, a region in northeastern Africa, and sent large trade caravans to this area. This trade brought Egypt rich resources, such as gold, incense, ivory, and other products, strengthening the country's economy. During Hatshepsut's reign, she clearly reinforced the role and importance of women in society. Although she dressed in male clothing as a pharaoh, she always remembered that women were also active and significant members of society and strived to introduce women as active members of the community.